Everybody wants to get united. Like, what we gotta do is meet everybody on 149th Street at the bench.
If you've gotten your throwy down pat, it's fundamentally correct, and you're looking for 3 easy ways to add style to your throwy, then this is the video for you. We'll be going over a couple of examples of 3 easy things you can add to your throwies in order to kind of bump the style just a little bit, while still keeping the rest of the throwy pretty simplistic. And we'll even throw in one bonus tip at the end. But before we get into all that, check this out. We're working on the most comprehensive how to do graffiti tutorial book ever created. It's a book about hand styles and the fundamentals of graffiti in general, and you can submit your own tags to be in the book in the description down below or over on Instagram. And only submit if you're okay with these rules right here, and you'll be set to go. So the very first way we're going to go ahead and begin adding style to our throwies with something called an extrusion. Now, an extrusion actually comes to us with when we just learned how to draw forms in general, where you can go ahead and have, let's say, a cube. You can extrude a piece of that outwards. And that's exactly what's happening with our letter here. So in graffiti, this happens when you have your basic box which aligns with another basic box, which you can see right here with our Y, where we have the vertical one right here, and it intersects with this horizontal one. And they meet up right here and here. But you take one of those boxes, in this case the horizontal one, and you continue it forward past the other box. Now here's the thing, you can't just go ahead and put those anywhere you want to. You have to put them where there's an intersection coming together. Otherwise, it's not really much of an extrusion. And these can also be a great way in order to flow different things, right? Like for example, let's just say we had a letter R here. This extrusion could help us flow with the letter R just a little bit more. You see, this right here wouldn't be an extrusion because there's no actual intersection happening between this basic box of the R being the bowl and this part of the leg jetting outwards. Rather instead, this right here is just the rounding off of the basic box that comes outwards. So that's not really much of an extrusion. It's also really important, and this is a bit of a side note, but you want these things to line up properly. You are still trying to maintain your basic boxes after all. So we can see that this right here on the K doesn't really align properly with the basic boxes itself, and that's something you would want to go ahead and rectify. As you become more experienced, mistakes like these really wouldn't be happening nearly as much. Now another great way to add style to your throwies, which I actually really quite like because it's connected to the first method we just talked about, that is compressed extensions, which once again isn't very different from your extrusions, where extrusions are able to happen when 2 different basic boxes collide and intersect and one continues. The difference here being compressed extensions can be anywhere you really want them to be. You don't need 2 basic boxes to intersect with one another in order to create one of these. So we can see one right here on the end. That right there is a compressed extension. Just a little unnecessary part of a letter that extends out of the letter. These ones are pretty self-explanatory. You don't want them to be overzealous and really big, otherwise they wouldn't be very compressed, right? So we are looking for a compressed extension after all. So you do want to keep them a little bit more compact, a little smaller, and a little less intrusive. And this does a great job at that. We can actually see this same exact thing being used in a more advanced throwy as well, being right here. And this shows us, this is a great representation that everything I'm telling you in today's video you can use for more advanced graffiti. In fact, advanced graffiti is just the basics kind of compiled on top of one another and layered and layered and layered and layered and layered. So we can see in a compressed extension right there. This right here would technically be an exterior detail, but that's neither here nor there. I want to keep it on topic with the compressed extensions for now. And once again, it's a really easy way in order to go ahead and add a little bit more style to your letters. Now the next thing you can go ahead and add to your letters is a little bit of a swish. It's this right here. You'll see this a bunch on throwies. It's extremely common, and this is a great point to bring up actually. None of the things in this video would be considered biting because they are just features of the art form rather than someone's specific design. This is not something that any one particular graffiti artist is doing. It's something every single throwy can have. What I really like about this is it adds a little bit of range to your throwy, because not only does this section flow with your more rounded areas of the throwy, but this sharper edge also flows with straighter and harsher edges that you might have on your throwy as well. So this is a really easy way in order to go ahead and have your throwy work with different kinds of angles or different kinds of edges, if you will. That's probably a better way to word that. If you're newer and you need help on your throwies, be sure to check out the playlist that I have fully dedicated to the topic right here above. But keep in mind, because this is more so a feature of throwies rather than an individual's personal style, it means that you can kind of put that wherever you want to, right? He could have easily taken his K and then done that very same exact thing coming upwards with the leg of the K coming down. You know, you can do a wild amount of things with something so simple, and it would vastly change your letter structures. Once again, you could see the same thing here. You can go ahead and keep that same exact swoosh right there if you wanted to on the other leg of the K. You can do that anywhere pretty much, so long as it doesn't disrupt the fundamentals of the throwy in general. And that's exactly why you do want to at least have the fundamentals down pat before utilizing any of these, because you want to make sure that none of these stylistic changes are going to destroy other fundamentals. And here's a great example of that very same thing being used here. We see that more rounded edge and then the more tapered, sharper edge on this side. And then we see it again down here. And as a bonus, you definitely want to experiment with your serifs. Now, a serif is an extra stroke added to a letter at its terminal, at the ending of a basic box, if you will. So, say for example, you have this basic box of your M. Alright, well, here's the ending of your M. Here's where we can go and connect our serif to. So we would take our line and drag it further out over here in order to go ahead and create our serif. That's another great way not only to give your throwy more room, more space, more weight, but also a great way to take advantage of line and letter uniformity and similarity, as well as bumping the style just a little bit more. So let's kind of look at the example of that, right? If this M were to end right there, it wouldn't have the letter uniformity with this E, with this kind of swoop it has. It really needs those features in order to flow with one another and tie different letters together. So now that he's able to add that serif, he gets the rounder bit right there, and then the sharper angle right there. And the great thing about all these is as you become better at graffiti, the more you understand the fundamentals, and the more you're able to utilize style as a result of that, the more you'll be able to take these very simple tips and expand on them. You can see that in different areas. These are all things we just taught in this video, but they get simply expanded upon. And you see it again here, with compressed extensions, serifs, and more serifs. So next time you're doing your throwy, keep these tips in mind and try to add them if you understand the fundamentals already. And of course, because we are talking about the topic of style, understand that there's an infinite things you can do with style, but these are just 3 easy things that you can get started with. But dudes, on that note, if you want to make graffiti really easy to learn, as easy as it's ever been, pick up one of the books I published in the description down below, and while you're at it, if you'd like to, submit to be part of my hand style book. It is going to be by far the most comprehensive guide for graffiti. That's not even an exaggeration. I just finished the first draft and it already blows all the books on the market out of the water. And lastly, check out the best how to do graffiti playlists anywhere online with these right over here somewhere at the top. I forgot what side it's on. And I'll catch you guys back here next week. Thanks for watching.